We fight. The Mongols win.
Hey everybody, what's going on? Juan here, welcome back to the channel, and today I want to talk to you about E3 2018. Today is a Sunday, and we're very excited because we had a chance to witness a bunch of video games. Whether you saw them on Twitch, in person, what matters is that this is one of the best times to be a gamer because we're in this traditional phase of, we know that the next generation is about 3 to 4 years away, but that doesn't mean that we're not going to have a bunch of awesome, juicy games coming out in 2018, 2019. So I'm here to talk about some of the best things that I personally loved that I'm going to be buying for sure as a result of what I witnessed at E3. And you that is watching right now, please go to the comment section. Give me your top 5 games that you're definitely going to buy, because there's a bunch of games that I could add to this list, like Doom, which I love, and I'm definitely going to try them out at some point, but I'm not sure if I'm going to buy them day one. So every game that you're going to hear me talk about in this list, I'm going to buy the day it comes out, and I would love to get your feedback about, do you care about these games? And I'm also going to mention some honorable mentions as a result of some of your tweets, as well as some of the awesome people that are part of our Discord channel. So don't forget to check that out in the description section of the video if you want to join the club. So with that being said, let's kick it off with the first game, and that is, we're going to get cooking with Overcooked 2. And my wife and I played a lot of the first one. We actually completed it on the PS4. That being said, honestly, it took us a long time because it got very frustrating. So we actually had to put the game down because, for those who don't know, this is a food development simulator, if you will. You have different ingredients that you have to cook. You have to put them together, you have to deliver them, but you also got to wash the dishes. You also got to make sure that the rats don't get your food. Oh my goodness, the kitchen is on fire because you forgot that the soup was being made, but you were too busy working on them burgers. That, my friends, is Overcooked. And the excellent thing, it's finally, it's going to be online. That was possibly one of the things that I hated the most about this game, because not only can you play 2-player co-op, you can do 3, 4-player co-op. But what happens when you got 2 people like Nicole and I here at home, but then you have 2 awesome friends that want to play with you, but there's no chance to? So now, whether you played on PS4, Xbox One, Nintendo Switch, and or PC, you're going to get that co-op experience. You're also going to be treated to new environments. There's going to be wireless play between Switches, which for the time being, it definitely looks like we're going to be getting it on the Switch, because you can actually pair up 2 different Switches. I don't know if you can pair it up to 3 or 4. They're also going to beef the game up with more chefs, more personality, more recipes, and from what I saw with the gameplay, they're definitely going to get a lot more creative with the environments. Like with the first one, there were a couple of stages where you were in a truck and you had to actually cook on another truck, right, that you had to transfer to. But they're not always right next to each other, so you got to strategize. Sometimes I would throw the tomatoes and they will land on the floor, and maybe Nicole would cook them anyway because, hey, you know, the people that are eating the food, they don't know about that, so we're just gonna throw it out. And I'm just really hoping that that only happens in video games and not in real life. And if you happen to know that that does in fact happen in real life, please, I don't want to know that. I'm just going to close my eyes, I'm going to close my ears, and pretend I don't know. And the best thing is, it's not too far off. It's going to be coming out on August 7th, so definitely expect some coverage about Overcooked 2 right here on Epic JC. At number 2 is a game that I personally had no interest in getting whatsoever. That is until I saw gameplay footage, and I was like, I want me some of that, and I'm talking about Ghost of Tsushima. Now, this game is being developed by Sucker Punch, who's very well known for games like Sly Cooper and the Infamous series, and they took a really sharp turn with this one because they went from cartoony things to superhero things to samurais. And not just samurais, but this is a more methodical, slower paced combat where you do have a bunch of enemies. It's about battling the Mongolian Empire, and no, you're not Tom Cruise, but you are one of the remaining samurai, and it's about going into this journey. You know, we don't have a lot more detail about this, but we got to see a bunch of excellent gameplay. As somebody that owns a PlayStation 4 Pro, I cannot wait to get me a copy of that and pop it in there, because I definitely think we're getting into a time where if you don't have a Pro, don't expect to see what you see in these trailers to actually function in that same way on your PlayStation 4, because the HDR, the contrast that you saw in that, the grass. We were watching this live on Twitch, and everybody was like, man, the grass looks amazing. You know, a game is good and people want to buy it when they talk about the grass. And something else that I really loved about this is that you have the battle where you have to focus on defending and parrying and all that stuff, but it seems like the boss battles are more of duel, so they actually play off even slower. So it truly is about almost incorporating this fighting style gameplay into it. And traditionally, it's something that I really don't care about, but there's just something about it that feels really different. And considering I loved Sly Cooper and I loved Infamous, I trust Sucker Punch to deliver an incredible game that many people are going to love. The sad part about Ghost of Tsushima is that we do not have a release date, so I could be talking about this next year. Let's hope that if I do, it's because it's out. And now I'm going to take a sharp turn with this video because the next game that I'm here to talk about is Super Mario Party. Yes, people, it's finally happening because, you know, we're going to get the mini games. Cool. It's online. It has online, people. Yes, it's finally happening. It took like what? 5-7 years to get a proper online Mario Party game going on. Unfortunately, it doesn't seem like we're going to be getting a one-to-one experience with it because it's going to be a Mario-thon game mode, apparently, whatever that means. It's going to be 5 different changing mini games with leaderboards. So we're going to be getting a micro-sized version of Mario Party, which I guess makes sense. I mean, think about how long a Mario Party session usually takes. Imagine that disconnecting at some point, you know, it not saving, losing that progress. That could get very irritating, and maybe you wouldn't find a lot of lobbies. Whereas if you have a condensed, you know, a summarized version of Mario Party, you're definitely going to get a lot more people involved. So I guess I kind of just answered my own question as to why they're going to be doing this. Looking at the trailer though, it definitely seems like they're going to be adding a couple of things that could only be done on the Switch. At one point they sort of connected 2 Switches together and they had this tank and they actually transitioned from one screen to another. So I don't know if that was just perception and making it look cool, but in practice it's not nearly as cool as it looks in a video. But hey, they're going to be trying out some different things. Are we going to have less mini games if you have a docked versus tabletop mode? I really hope that's not the case. But I mean, think about how many different Mario Party games we've had. I played none of the Wii U ones, so I'm not sure how good or bad those are. So if they're able to bring in a lot of the great mini games that we loved growing up, you know, with the Nintendo 64, there were the DS and 3DS versions. We have a bunch of different Mario Party games. So if they create this awesome condensed version that has everything that we love, they keep it simple, and they pour that with online components, count me in, because this game comes out on October 5th, 2018. If you don't follow us, you definitely want to follow my wife and I on Twitch, Press Pause TV, because I feel like Mario Party, that's definitely going to be quite the super experience where I hope it doesn't lead to divorce or loss of friendship with people, but given the experience with this game, it could happen. We're going to be scaling things down just a little bit with this next one because the game I'm talking about is Tunic, which I guess a lot of people maybe don't really know about because it's not your AAA title. This is a Microsoft exclusive game coming out for Xbox One, PC, but it's also going to be coming out for Mac and Linux. So those PC gamers are definitely going to be in for a treat, especially if you love old school Zelda games, A Link to the Past. If you look at the game, it's basically Link, but you're a fox. And this reminded me a lot of 3D Dot Game Heroes on the PlayStation 3. It just does the scope, the camera angle. There's different things I really like about it. The sharp trees. It almost looks like a 3D, low poly, cel-shaded graphical style video game. And we really don't have a lot more information, but just something about it, you know, for me having played It'll Do 2 earlier in the year and having played other games that are kind of like it, sign me up. This game still does not have a release date, but so far it's scheduled to come out in 2019. The next game on my list is The Division 2, and I really like the gameplay of the first Division game. I thought the shooting mechanic was very responsive. I loved the cover system. I liked a lot of things about it, except the actual world. This has a one-to-one comparison with me when it comes to Destiny and The Division, where everything about how the control feels, the character movement, I love everything except the world I'm playing in. So changing the setting from New York to Washington, D.C., I think it's going to do wonders for the game. Not having a problem with New York itself, just I think that the environment, the fact that people were dying and everything, there wasn't a lot of color. It was very foggy, and it looked kind of boring, whereas at least with the stylistic decisions that they made with The Division 2, it feels like they're adding more color, more variety, and you can definitely see that with the gameplay. Now, you know, we got to be very skeptical because much like Destiny 1 and The Division 1, they would show a lot of things to get us hooked, right? To go like, man, this is going to be the game that everybody's playing. But it does seem like they're making right decisions. For one, they're going to be adding an 8-player raid, which is awesome. You know, we had a group of friends that were playing together all the time, but it was more than 4 people. So it's not like you can do every single, you know, mission with 4 players, but at least you can build up to those awesome 8-people raids, kind of like MMOs. So if they continue to improve on the gameplay mechanics, they improve on the overall world to get you really sucked into it, to make you feel like, man, I'm here at home, but I could be battling it out in Washington, D.C. and saving the world. I think that The Division 2 could be a hell of a game. And the great thing is, it does have a release date. I'm hoping that it does not get delayed, although the beginning of 2019 is looking pretty dense because this game is going to be coming out on March 15th, 2019. And man, I don't know, but I strongly think that the next game on my list can easily be a cult classic or a sleeper hit in 2019. And the game that I'm talking about is Sea of Solitude. And reading up some information online, turns out that this is a game that we've known about for quite a while. It just wasn't really discussed too much, or maybe it just didn't pop up on websites. But looking up some information, turns out we first heard about this game all the way back in 2016. So I listened to a lot of developer interviews because at first glance, this seems almost like a sequel in a spiritual sense to Shadow of the Colossus, which is one of my favorite games of all time because you have this solitary character in this empty world with giant monsters. So I'm like, okay, so do you get to climb them? Like, what do you really get to do with them? But something that they said that definitely intrigued me is that they mentioned that you don't necessarily battle against them. You're actually trying to figure out what's going on in this world. So you're almost working alongside the monsters, but that may not always be the case. And that's sort of the tease, right, that they left there. And the graphical decisions, the art style is something that I love, sort of this cell-shaded vibe. And the character, why is the character, drawn in such a weird fashion? There's a lot of questions about this, that it seems like it's going to be more of an adventure/exploration game. And honestly, that's not for everybody, myself included. So I'm going to buy this game day one, but I got to know going in to set my expectations, in a real way. This is not Shadow of the Colossus. I just got to go into it blindly, thinking that I have this character, I got to care about the story. I'm not sure if there's going to be a lot of dialogue or if it's more about character movement. So I may not like it, but I'm damn sure intrigued by it. So if you are too, let me know. And this game is scheduled to be released in early 2019. So no official date, but hopefully we get it between the first 5 months of the year. Although looking at the schedule, January, February, and March, they're pretty packed. So I would actually say like just before summer sounds about right for Sea of Solitude. And this next one. Oh boy. Okay, so let's talk about Death Stranding, which I don't really know what to talk about because we still don't really know a lot about the game. And leave it to Hideo Kojima to actually showcase a lot of gameplay, and we still don't really know what the game's all about because, okay, so we got to see a lot of the graphics, the gameplay. It seems like, much like the previous game I talked about, there's an exploration aspect to it. It seems like the protagonist has to maybe gather a lot of items because notice how throughout the gameplay trailer, he has more boxes, more things that he's carrying. So for me, it's almost like he's going to different places, so maybe he needs to gather something to build something. We still don't know what the baby's all about. Like, seriously, what is up with the baby, man? Like, is it yours? Who's the baby's daddy? Do we know this for a fact? Can we please get some clarification? Because that father and or mother has to be damn sure concerned. But look, much like with games like Sea of Solitude and even something like No Man's Sky, we have to set realistic expectations for Death Stranding. I love the Metal Gear Solid franchise. I played and beat Metal Gear Solid 4 on the same day. Sure, there's a bunch of cutscenes, and I fully expect Death Stranding to also have a bunch of cutscenes, but I love it. Hideo Kojima is a crazy man, but that's why we love the guy, right? So I'm just gonna take his word. I'm gonna be in this for this ride. I'm gonna go in the roller coaster, and I hope that this horror slash thriller game slash stealth game, because if you really look, we see the enemy, but you can't really see anything more than the footsteps unless you have the light, unless they hear sound. But there are a bunch of questions that we still need answers for, like when you're going around the world, are you always going to be prone to encountering the enemy? Or like what happens if you see a footstep, right? One of them huge stamps. Does that mean that there's an enemy nearby? Those are a bunch of the things that I'm hoping that, honestly, they don't give us a lot of answers to. If there's one thing in 2018 and the past couple of years that I don't like, is that developers and us as gamers, we demand so much information that by the time the game comes out, it's like, well, here's the game, we already told you everything about it. All you need to do is sort of wait for the conclusion of the story. So actually, don't tell me any of that. You know what? Just go back in your development box, Hideo Kojima. Have Norman Reedus there. Just feed the man. Keep hanging out. Keep posting pictures on social media. And eventually we'll play the game, possibly in 2025, because it still does not have a release date. When is this going to come out? PS4? PS5? Maybe both? And before I get to my number one game on my list, which I think you know what I'm going to be talking about, I do want to get to some of your honorable mentions. I reached out to you on social media, on Twitter, EpicJC, as well as on our awesome Discord channel. Once again, description, or it's right there. I don't know where I'm going to put it. I'm going to put it up here twice for no reason whatsoever. So some of the things that you mentioned start off with Overcooked Bacon. I always love your nickname, man. You wrote that you're looking forward to Dying Light 2. So am I. Demon X Machina looks interesting. I'm not sure it's the type of game for me, but power to you. And Super Mario Party, yes. Scooby Diesel wrote the Resident Evil 2 Remake. You're a good man, my friend. An awesome friend, Rafi, wrote that Jump Force looks epic, Trials Rising looks fun, The Last of Us Part 2 putting the spotlight on the LGBT community was huge in my book, and I fully agree, my friend. And for context, the reason that I did not put The Last of Us Part 2 in this video is because, well, we haven't beaten the first one. The gameplay looks amazing. Same thing with Spider-Man. It's not in this video. Maybe it's not for me, but my wife is probably going to buy it, so I don't need to put it in my list because she's going to buy it, so I'll probably get to play it. The Kingdom Hearts 3 PS4 Pro looks amazing. Spider-Man looks just like the Arkham games, but will still buy it. Good picks, my friend. And Machado wrote on the Discord channel that I still have no idea what Death Stranding is all about. And I love it because of that, laughing out loud. Even though the Square Enix showcase was slightly disappointing, I did enjoy news on Hitman 2 and Tomb Raider. Also, they have Dragon Quest, and that's always good. I do wish we had heard a little bit more about Dragon Quest Builders 2, because that's something else that I'm definitely looking forward to. And maybe I missed something, or maybe they're just saving it for another occasion. But I would have loved some information about that. So once again, Discord channel people, check it out. And ladies and gentlemen, at number 1, and to the surprise of absolutely nobody, we do have the HD remake of Mary-Kate and Ashley, Sweet 16, License to Drive. It's finally happening, people. I mean, seriously, you talk about your Super Mario Party games. You check this one out. It's also out on GameCube and stuff, but the excellent thing about the PS4 version is that all of the mini games are gonna be going online. You talk about your wave races on the N64. This one has that taken to the next level. And before you close this video, let me actually talk about a Resident Evil 2 remake. Are you still here? I really hope you are. And honestly, I played over an hour of this game. I'm dead serious. I can talk about it at another point, but that's not what we're here to talk about, are we? And for context, the original Resident Evil 2 came out all the way back in 1998, and I actually played it when it first came out. I never personally owned a copy because I was honestly a little bit too afraid to buy one, but I did play it at one of my brother's friends' houses. I'll never forget it because he had one of these huge projector TVs that looked like crap, but they were huge, so they must have been cool, right? But they had like this huge sound system, so when I first went to their house, I just heard zombies and yelling. I hadn't played the original Resident Evil up until this point, so I was always afraid. I remember they had the PS1 at the top of the TV, which was like huge, 60, 70 inches. I would put the game disc in, and I would literally go beneath a chair because I was so afraid of the zombies popping up on screen. I think that says a lot about me growing up. But let's talk about the remake, shall we? So I made sure to listen to a couple of different developer interviews before making this video to make sure I have a little bit more information about what this really is. And to summarize, it's the same story, but a brand new experience. Kind of like we have the Final Fantasy VII Remake, which we heard nothing about, where it's the same setting, same story, but the gameplay does change. This one has a lot more in common with games like Resident Evil 4 and the games that came after than the original ones, with the camera angle, with the shooting mechanics. We're going to be going back to Raccoon City and reliving the entire experience playing as either Leon Kennedy or Claire Redfield. And this is a direct quote from one of the developers, which gives us a better indication of the pacing that they're looking to build with this remake, which is less shooting, more Metroidvania style gameplay. And I kind of get it. There's a lot of backtracking in the Resident Evil games, even on something like Resident Evil Outbreak, which Capcom, please remake Resident Evil Outbreak. Many people hated that game, but I loved it. Let's keep talking about the remake now, where the developers talked about the fact that they do expect an initial backlash from fans that are very dedicated to the franchise, but when they kept talking about everything, it made a lot of sense. There's a lot of tension building that goes along with the over-the-shoulder camera angle, much like with Resident Evil 4. You can get bitten from behind, and that camera angle, sort of accentuates the experience that much more. It seems to have an even darker tone from a visual standpoint than the original, whereas they mentioned that with the original, you would often hear a lot of zombies sort of in the next screen, but because they were off camera, your instinct was to then shoot and shoot and shoot, and sometimes you would miss, sometimes you would hear a zombie fall off. And that kind of just gets rid of a lot of the tension because you're killing something that you don't even know if it's actually there, whereas with now, you know exactly what's in front of you, but you don't know what's behind you. So in many ways, we do have a similar experience in that we have a limited viewing factor while we play Resident Evil 2, and I'm perfectly okay with that. Now, while they are keeping the story intact, at least for the time being, they are going to be adding a couple of fun features. One key example that they mentioned that makes a lot of sense, you can actually board up windows. And no, this is not your zombie mode in Call of Duty or Fortnite or whatever. Think about it, it makes sense. You have a zombie outbreak, what are you going to be doing? You see a window, the dog is going to jump at you, so what do? Well, I'm going to cover the damn thing. There are zombies on the outside, right? But they're going to be adding a couple of features to make sure it's not simply a prettified version of the game you already played. I don't know if prettified is a word, but I'm gonna go along with it. And the best thing about this, and please take it with the biggest grain of salt out there, so far this game does have a release date of January 25th, 2019. Is this gonna change? I'm thinking yeah. What are you thinking? Let me know in the comments. So ladies and gentlemen, that is it. Some of the games that I'm really looking forward to as a direct result of E3 2018. So something that I would love for you to do right now, head over to the comment section. Let me know if you care about any of the games that I mentioned. Do you agree or disagree with the fact that we got to be really hyped up about these games? Let me know maybe you like the 5 games that you're looking forward to as a direct result of what you witnessed at E3 2018. There's a bunch of other games that I left out because we saw simply a CGI trailer, not a lot of gameplay, and I'm like, you gotta show me at least something like Death Stranding, you know? I know that does seem to be how a character would move if I was holding the controller. So okay, same thing with Tunic. You showed a little bit, but I do know that it may be something that's right up my alley. So folks, if you do like this video, you know exactly what to do. You can give me a huge thumbs up. That lets me know that you care about this video, you care about everything that I'm pouring my heart into right here on this channel. You can subscribe and hit that notifications ticker so you can be notified as soon as the latest videos do become available. You can also suggest different things to check out on the channel. I have a very special video coming out next Wednesday. A bit of a personal video, I guess I could say, because an awesome supporter actually sent me this massive box that I'm going to be doing an unboxing video of, and I think that you and I are both going to love what's going to be right inside of it. So until next time, do not forget about our Discord channel so I can look forward to speaking to you in the near future. So never forget, folks, that this video has concluded, and hopefully games do not get delayed so the epic journey can continue. So thank you for watching, gang. Take care. And seriously, Resident Evil 2, January 25th. I'm thinking summertime, either that or think about how much money we actually need to spend to get all these games. It is insane.